the deputy ranking on Parliament's Lands and Foreign Forestry Committee has criticized government's Green Ghana project, describing it as inadequate in terms of the approach. It also says that it is lacking transparency and minimal impact on the environment. Alhassan Suhuyini says the campaign fails to address the conservation of forest reserves, while arguing that planting seedlings once a year is simply not enough to combat deforestation and address climate change. Well, thankfully, he joins us via phone with further details. Thank you for your time here on Newsdesk. Now, you've been criticizing government's Green Ghana project for its minimal impact on the environment. Can you provide us with specifics, examples, data that illustrate how this project has failed?
Thank you very much, Fosti. Good morning to your viewers and listeners as well. Government began this program in 2021. It was launched by the minister somewhere in June, I think, 2021. And the intention, as outlined by the minister, was for this project to be largely funded by the private sector. So a team was even put together to see to the raising of funds for the promotion of planting of seedlings, as it was dubbed trees, every year. And so a number of trees, I think about 5 million was proposed to be planted in the first year. The second year, they increased it to 10 million. In the third year, they increased it to 10 million again. Now, over the years, what we have noticed is that every year, the procurement processes that lead to the supply of these seedlings are shrouded in secrecy. And our, interactions with people in the industry show that these are sometimes just offered like confetti to party apparatchiks in the various, districts and regions to supply the seedlings at unverifiably high prices. And these seedlings sometimes after even the day, and you can go round after tomorrow and see, are left at the various district assembly offices and at the various forestry district offices, unclaimed, unplanted, and just wasting away till another year. And so the claim that the number of them have survived is not backed by data at all. The last time the ministry appeared before the Lands and Forestry Committee in Parliament, we requested for the verification of the trees that they claim they have planted and how many of them have survived. Up till today, the district, the chief director of the ministry is yet to supply the committee with that verifiable information of survival rate of these trees. And yet, every year, millions and millions of Ghana seeds is pumped into that. Only last year, the Seedlings Suppliers Association in Ashanti region did a press conference and revealed that they were owed to the tune of about 2.8 million Ghana cedis, by the Forestry Commission as a result of their supply of seedlings to this Green Ghana project. Now, what is even worse, my sister, is that you have a situation where the government is claiming to be promoting the planting of seedlings in this manner that is not transparent and that is shrouded in a lot of corruption or procurement-related corruption. And yet this same government, through its policies, is championing the destruction of our forests. For example, if you look at LI 2462, promoted by the Environmental Protection Agency, supported by the Ministry of Environment, it outlines modalities as to how to mine in forest reserves. I mean, you have not successfully planted trees to make the country green enough, and yet you are promoting legislation that allows for the destruction of forest reserves that you have come to meet. Because no mining can effectively take place in a forest, reserve without compromising the integrity of the forest and the integrity of biodiversity in the forest as well. And yes, you have a government promoting legislation to allow for mining in forest reserves. You also have a government, through the president, issue an executive fiat to declassify over 360 acres of the Achimota forest land. One would have thought that with a project like this, even if we had part of the Achimota forest land being depleted of trees, you would have been targeting those reserves to reclaim those lands with these plants, plant there and nurture them in a controlled environment, so that you are conserving and promoting the gains that we get from some of these forest reserves, and not, through executive instruments, declassify forest reserves, sell the lands to your cronies and private developers, and then also allow your cronies to mine in forest reserves like the Tano Nimrimi forest, where the Akunta mining belonging to a regional party chairman is there busily mining, and yet the president says that he has done nothing wrong. And then you also have the case of the promotion of mining in forest reserve through the EPA legislative instrument 2462, and pretentiously engage in this planting of trees every year. That only, evidence shows, allow for procurement-related corruption in the area of seedling supplies and paraphernalia printing.
You're making allegations we can't prove, but you mentioned lack of transparency in the Green Ghana project. Elaborate on the areas where you feel this transparency is missing.
Clearly, the ministry is unable to supply us with the processes that are used to contract seedling suppliers.
Now,
and in some cases, what we have is that people who are not engaged in seedling growing at all, are offered these contracts. And they then go and approach seedling growers to give the supplies, to do the supplies for them. And every year, the transaction or the expenditure they bring for Green Ghana is in the millions of Ghana cedis. And yet, how procurements are done is not known, not even to members of the committee. And that is a clear example of how, this is not transparently done. And again, when you come to accountability of the number of trees planted, it is not transparently done. The ministry comes to announce figures that they are not able to support with any verifiable evidence. So they tell you 10 million trees have been planted. There's no evidence of how those 10 million trees have been planted, where they are planted, who is responsible for nurturing them. No structure in place to check all of that.
Finally, before I let you go, your critic of this Green Ghana project, he also highlights that there are inadequate efforts towards conserving forest reserves. Now, what concrete steps do you feel government should take to help in this regard?
So to conserve forest reserve, for example, you will not have a president issue an executive instrument, EI 144, to declassify the Achimota forest. Because when you do that, you allow for encroachment, you promote encroachment and development that threaten the integrity of the remaining forest. And you are talking about a declassification of almost half of the forest reserve, 360 acres of land declassified, and now, sold to party apparatchiks and private developers to put up structures that will compromise the integrity of the remaining forest. So that is not a concrete step towards the conservation of forest reserve. One would have thought that even if you were going to engage in a project such as Green Ghana, you would have targeted some of the forest reserves that are depleted when it comes to the forest cover. So you go into the forest reserve and plant some of the economic trees that we have all come to realize can be beneficial to us in some of these areas, forest reserve areas that are lacking trees, like in the case of the Tamale Timber Market. So you claim that that area has been used for trading, and so you sell it to a private developer to put up some structures there. Why don't you rather target, that land, reclaim that land, find a way of growing trees that are economically beneficial to the community, and also trees that will lead to the promotion of good quality air in the city. I mean, instead of just, declassifying and selling it to private developers to put it to other uses. That is not a good way to conserve existing forest reserves.
Now, you're the deputy ranking member on Parliament's Lands and Forestry Committee. When the House reconvenes, do you plan to put this before the House so that we could look at measures to deal with the concerns you've raised?
Absolutely. I'm going to do that when the House reconvenes.
Thank you for your time here on News Desk. Alhassan Suhuyini is deputy ranking member on Parliament's Lands Committee in the House. Thank you for your time. Now.